world torn apart by disaster, a new society has emerged. Scarred survivors band together, their shared humanity, the only thing that keeps them pushing on against the hordes. But amongst this chaos, a new hero has risen. In the tumult of survival, an idiot on a Segway rides around with his tackle in the wind and asks people about board games. This is the Guild.
Starring Ben Maddox as the embodiment of all the bad habits in the world, and Dan Hughes as Gilbert O'Sullivan. Are you excited for the revelations you're about to hear? No, me neither. And let's just hope the sound effects aren't so bloody loud this week that you'll actually be able to hear what's going on. Not that you want to, really. You're never going to learn anything, you know. Frankly, he's drunk as hell before every recording.
Well, I mean, now, one could say that you've covered your face in thick pan makeup and outrageous telephone box red lipstick and eyeshadow to cover up the fact that, you know, your skin is getting ever greener. But I choose to think that you're just, you know, in these post-apocalyptic days, taking a bit more care of your appearance.
I'm a massive fan of Edwardian music hall theatre, Ben. And that's why I'm kind of going for that kind of look, really. The kind of Edwardian chorus girl look.
Yeah, I was a very big Mike Leigh fan back in the day. And you do look like an extra in Topsy-Turvy.
I'm sure that's a very intellectual film and isn't part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so therefore I haven't seen it. But yes, let's say yes. I'm thinking more of Aunt Sally from Wurzel Gummidge, actually. That's who I'm modelling my particular style on now. The red dots on my my cheeks and therefore, you know, looking. I would say I look radiant, Ben.
I mean, not only you smell like your body is rotting to death, but you look absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, if I didn't know you better, I'd lean in and steal a kiss. Well, you know.
You're more than welcome. I'd watch out for the family of field mice that are nesting in my skull cavity. One of them's a little bit frisky, so don't come too close.
Yeah, and it's funny that just before the apocalypse, they had a reboot of Wurzel Gummidge. The American audience in the compound are going to absolutely love this.
Yeah.
Did you avail yourself of it, and were you appalled by Mackenzie's crook?
I didn't avail myself of it, mainly because I'm still traumatised from the John Pertwee era of Wurzel Gummidge, and still have nightmares to this day. That was the most frightening television programme ever created.
He wasn't a yew tree lad, though, was he?
No, he wasn't. No.
I mean, he's one of the few that was on telly. No. Again, American listeners are going to be loving this.
Not that I'm aware of, anyway. It certainly hasn't come out as such. Yeah.
All the American listeners, if the internet is still in the compound, go on and type Operation Yew Tree into Google and see how many of the men that I looked up to as a child are fucking serial molesters.
Yes.
Didn't Rolf get off, though?
No, Rolf's still in prison, as far as I'm aware.
Is he, big ad?
Yeah, Rolf is still in prison, tying his kangaroo down at this very moment.
Well, I mean, all the prisons were flattened as a precautionary measure after the outbreak.
Yeah, it was a reasonable act to take. Yes.
So you know, you've been in the compound.
Yep.
And you know, I saw you the other day, and you were sort of going, what was this, vocal warm-ups, or are you eventually embracing your true identity?
It was a hangover, if I'm absolutely honest, Ben.
Where are you getting booze from?
Well, I don't need booze. I just need fermented brains. This is the benefit of being a zombie, is that you can get the booze.
Being a what?
A zombie.
Oh, so you've embraced it now?
Well, yes, I have. I'm trying to reclaim the word as much as anything. You know, some people use it pejoratively, but for me, it's a sign of It's a sign of, I don't know, pride almost now.
So what aspect of being a eternally hungry, cannibalistic monster that wants nothing more than to eat the brains of healthy living people would you say that you cling to the most?
Well, as you know, Ben, I've always been very environmentally conscious.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the recycling. The recycling is what I like most. The brain recycling.
Of human life from living humans to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's even better than veganism. Because I'm not only not hurting the animal life, I'm not even hurting plant life. The only life I'm affecting is a human life, and let's face it, I think if we all search deep in our soul, we can all agree that the planet would probably be a lot better off without humanity in it.
You know, I think one of the largest problems and one of the contributing factors to the apocalypse was there was this movement of people going, why don't we just be nice to each other without realising the central idea that humans are dreadful. And we can't be nice because it's not in our makeup.
Yeah.
Have you literally ever, now or in the past, met a human who's nice?
I have one human.
Who was that?
A man called Matt Houck, who
wow,
he's an amazingly nice man. But the rest of them, no, we're all flawed, aren't we? Apart from my friend Matt, we're all flawed individuals.
I mean, okay, right. So there's a few people that you're familiar with that are in the compound that have actually done this tannoy-based recording in the past. I want you to... So we're going to have a challenge.
Right.
I want to give you a name and you append an adjective to it.
Oh, okay. I've become very bad at doing this recently. This used to be my shtick, but recently I've become bad. But I'm willing to attempt it.
I want you to... What I want from you is for you to centre on their defect. Right. And I want the sort of platonic ideal of what their defect is in an adjective.
Okay. Well, this is not going to end up with me requesting 12 hours time, me requesting you to edit something out.
This is being broadcast live to the compound over the tannoy. You are what you sow.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, Doctor, now ex-doctor, alcoholic and fan of staring into the abyss because all the screens have gone away and he can't get that juicy Apple money. No more. Max Davey.
He's a ninny hammer.
That's a hell of a word.
I like it.
That's a Norwegian village, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to struggle to top it. I tell you that much.
You've really come strong out of the gate.
I come strong out of the gate, and I've left with a very small pool of significantly inferior words.
Start mediocre, and then you've always got distance to travel.
Yeah.
Don't pull your big guns out at the beginning. That is called shooting your bolt.
Okay.
In the modern parlance. All right. So, flannel shirt wearing, a bit too good looking for me not to be resentful.
Yep.
Brummy of the highest order, Matthew Jude.
He's a flibbity gibbet.
That's pretty good, a flibbity gibbet.
Yep.
Breaking out the Elizabethan there.
Well, as I told you, I'm all about the music hall insults.
Exactly. So we go for the man who still thinks having a goatee beard in these days and ages makes him look dignified and sexy, even though, come on, goatee beards, we haven't had them since the 90s. Michael, I heard him speak Italian on your broadcast the other day and wondered, does he speak Italian? Delicio.
I think it was Spanish he was speaking.
All right. Hi.
But he is an idiot hole, as we've already established. There's no other word to describe. The Delicio is idiot hole.
So, I mean, how does the hole manifest itself?
Just in his very essence of being, Ben. Just in his very essence of being. Just a vacuous hole of idiocracy.
You know, I've never met him face to face because I was going to meet him last year and unexploded World War II bomb got in the way. It's a long story. I'm not telling it.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
All right. I knew.
All right. Well, I am going to say it now. So, imagine a fantasy world in which we're all imagining that we live in the real world and there really is an apocalypse, because this premise is very, very, very solid. So, I was going to fly to Gearstones, the hipster cliquey con that Dan invites all his media pals to. Yeah. I went to the airport and was in the departure lounge at my gate when 15 minutes before the flight was due to take off, a message flashed up on the TV that said, "Flight is cancelled." Turned out that day they'd discovered an unexploded World War II bomb at the airport and they cancelled all the flights.
I knew it was cancelled. I didn't realise because of World War II and an exploded bomb. You'd have thought they could have let a few more people out. It hadn't exploded until now, surely.
The point is, don't they know who the fuck I am?
Exactly. Did you say that at the time?
I mean, I swore.
Yeah.
Both in English and German. I spoke to the police and I said, was ist mit das?
Yeah.
And they said, das können wir nicht machen. And I said, oida. And then I went home and I got drunk and was depressed.
Yeah. You really didn't miss anything. It was just the best weekend I've ever had.
Yeah, you know what's so great about social media as well? Mm-hmm. Is that everyone was tweeting out, "Oh, what an epic weekend! It was
that's
great."
not true. That's not true. There's not even an internet signal over there.
Well, that's true. Well, after the weekend, Mark Cook was tweeting that out. Idiot Hole was tweeting that out.
Yeah.
Matthew Jude was tweeting that out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I was doing?
Well, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know, Ben.
Well, it involved fluids.
Yes, well, it always does. That's the problem with you.
Well, anyway, so moving on.
Yes.
So you're familiar. You've been for a drink in the guild before, so you're familiar with the the
Segway.
I go around on the Segway, tackle in the wind. Seem to me, I live my life with my tackle in the wind.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful song. That was the original lyrics,
I'm aware of this, yeah.
Because Elton John, Reg Dwight, if we will, used to be a naturist. And so he wrote a song based upon that. And then someone says, make it a bit more marketable, conspiracy theories. And he did it about Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. Well, I think it was possibly the right decision in the end.
Well, he made his money, didn't he, bless him? And you gotta pay money to have glasses that big for a start.
You do pay by the square foot for glasses, it's true.
Anyway, so yeah, I go around and I improve the compound by speaking to people and, asking them questions about board games. And as I say, every episode, most of them sort of go, "My family are all dead. What are you doing? Leave me alone." Whereas some of them actually speak to me. And so my question this week was, what are gamers' best and worst habits? Okay? Now, I want your feedback. Because I was having a discussion with my game group the other day. So I had literally the worst fucking experience I've had with a game, I think ever since I got into games. There was two people who were particularly AP prone, and I'm sorry, all of these people go, "Oh, AP, it's fine." I consider it just rank selfishness. I think it's unforgivable selfishness. And between them, they took 19 minutes to do their turn. So, and anyway, and this one guy who was at the table was just a fucking wanker. Just an objectionable pedant. And he was.
Does he listen to this podcast?
No, I can't imagine he does. I imagine he fucking lies in a fucking coffin at night when he sleeps. And so he was just an asshole, an absolute pedant. The other guy is analysis paralysis prone, but he's a nice enough lad. And so I got on a discussion with the organizer of the night, and he was sort of saying to me that there's some people in the group, and like there's a couple of guys who are on the autism spectrum. They have like Asperger's syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And how do I say this? They're kind of unbearable. Mm-hmm. And he was saying to me what can I do? Because I don't feel like I can exclude them, because it's not like they're doing it deliberately, yet the group is sort of bifurcating, because most people are sort of coming in, and if he's the only option to play with, they'd rather go home than stay. And you were a game group organizer.
I was.
What do you do in that situation?
You quit being the game group organizer.
That's very clever.
which is probably why I did it, to be honest, because I couldn't find a solution that I was morally happy with to that problem. It's a tricky one. There's no I don't know. I don't know. There are some behaviours which are not acceptable, and you can say that is not acceptable. There's, for example, putting playing cards in your mouth.
Right.
Was one.
Wow,
instance.
really?
Yeah. But again, and I don't want to talk too specifically about things, because these individuals are living human, beings and stuff with problems.
Right.
And issues. Putting playing cards in your mouth, you can clearly say that is not acceptable behaviour. You do that one more time, and you're out. Yeah?
Right.
Just being very difficult to deal with, but not having a specific thing you're doing that you can point to and say this needs to change. Just your entire being hard to deal with, because in a games group there's two very conflicting things going on, isn't there? There's we're a public games group. We're here for anyone to come and play games. We are open, we are tolerant, we want to celebrate differences, not exclude people, all that stuff, and I'm 100% in agreement with that. And then there's people come here to enjoy themselves. We're not volunteering to provide social support to people who find social interactions difficult.
Right.
And those two aspects conflict massively at times, and I've never been able to work out. I once had to ring somebody up and say, we don't want you to come to the group anymore. It's not working out.
How was that?
It was horrendous. And the fact I did it by telephone just shows how much of a coward I am. But I rung them up and I said, look, I just don't think you fit in. And he said, I don't fit in anywhere.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean, and the behaviour that person did was incredibly objectionable. Completely taking over every game, alpha gaming everything, even when it was saying, "Oh no, I'll be the GM for this game," and then just telling everybody what to do. Really, really difficult behaviour that they weren't able to change really, because every time you said, well, don't do that anymore, they didn't do that specific thing, but it was the general tone of their behaviour.
Right, absolutely. It's like this guy the other night was exactly, he was pedantic to the point of annoying. You know that where, you're just sitting there thinking, I can't even speak a bloody sentence now.
Yeah.
Because if I even stumble over the pronunciation of a word, he is just going to sit there and he's going to pick up and he's going to give me a 10-minute bloody lecture on what I'm doing wrong with my life, And the thing is, and it's a terrible thing to say, but kind of in this situation, you want them to do something. You want them to do something horrible.
Yeah.
Not violent or anything, but you want them to say something that is absolutely uncategorically beyond the pale, so you can be indignant and say that's unacceptable, now piss off.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's a really difficult thing, and this friend of mine who organises the group was saying I don't know what to do.
No.
Because people are pissed off,
and people will leave, and you'll end up with the 3 or 4 tolerant people who can put up with it coming, and then no one else coming.
And also, I mean, actually, slightly what's worse than that, I think, the 3 or 4 tolerant people who can put up with it having to put up with it every week.
Yeah.
Which is the point is, as you said, we're not paid carers. This is still fundamentally leisure time. You're doing it because you enjoy it, and so it's a really difficult
it's a difficult thing to balance. I was talking about this tonight, and someone at the table was saying, so what you do is you tell them what they're doing wrong. And I was like, okay. And then they say, but what if they don't? It doesn't register. Well, what if they say, thank you for telling me? And they keep sort of manifesting behaviours. And she said, what you do is you have a red card on the table. And every time that they do something that slips into this mode of behaviour, you put your hand on the red card and you say, okay, this is what you're doing. And it sounds incredibly noble and it sounds like a solution. But I know myself, and I know loads of other people, I'm going to go, what the fuck? What the fuck? I'm coming here on my night off, and I have to fucking touch a red card? And I appreciate that you have a problem, but Christ, this is also my time. I am also living on a finite amount of time, and I will die one day, and I'm not really keen on wasting my time putting my hand on a fucking red card because you can't get a grip of social interaction. And that sounds really uncharitable. I understand how that sounds, but that's how fundamentally people are going to think, right?
Yeah, I suppose if you did it a few times and it worked...
this is true, of course.
Then that's different to having to do it every single time. I mean, there are a number of people with various different... I've forgotten what they call it now. Neuroatypical, isn't it? That's what. There are a number of people with a number of different issues surrounding that within a game group that I am involved with, and some of them are a lot more open to. I mean, I have said, listen, that's not acceptable behaviour. If you do that again, I will refuse to play a game with you again.
Right.
And they've apologised, and we've moved on. And yes, I'm not going to be inviting them round to my house to spend the weekend and stuff. But we've managed. And then some people haven't been able to adjust their behaviour. I mean, and that's not their fault either. That's part of what's going on for them. You know what I mean?
But of course, the crisis is accepting your beyond the pale behaviour my responsibility, and that's the real. And I understand what you say, that you can't find a solution that you are morally comfortable with implementing, right?
Yeah. I don't know if there is a solution. I mean, there are people who are more skilled at dealing with these things. I mean, I like to think I've got my own. I like to think I've got some quite refined ways of diffusing situations and things like that from my job, dealing with people in all levels of distress and confusion and stuff. But I don't come for games night to do that, really.
Right.
It's my day off. You know what I mean? I do that at work. But I will. But not if it happens every week. If it happens every week, you're like, well, I'm going to stop going, aren't you?
Right.
And that's where things die.
And, you know, inclusivity is the aspiration and inclusivity is the goal, and I completely agree with that. But at the end of the day, also, enjoying yourself is a goal. And if someone is ruining your time, what do? You stop going. This is it. You just say, no more. I am not doing that, right? And it's very difficult.
I didn't know you were going to spring this on me, Ben.
Well, you know,
this is a topic we've been avoiding steadfastly on my own podcast.
You were a healthcare professional before you were bit by one of those people, and now you look like an Edwardian floozy.
I am. Oh, I look like an Edwardian floozy on my days off anyway, to be fair.
So let's move away from that, because that's really interesting. But it seems we've been talking around the point. There's no bloody solution.
There isn't a solution. There isn't a solution to that.
Neither of us are clever enough to come up with one.
And I've been members of Facebook groups of board game organisers as well, and there's no solution there. I've been members of private groups where we try to discuss the specific problem. You know, what are we going to do about this person? There's never been a solution. There's never been a consensus of opinion. It's just incredibly difficult. It's
right. Because you don't want to be an arsehole fundamentally at the end of the day. I don't think...
Well, and the thing is, while somebody's social interaction might be incredibly problematic to you, it might be the only social interaction they get all week. This might be the most important interaction they have with anybody for the entire week. Whereas to you, it's about playing board games. To them, it's their kind of link to feeling
the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to rip that away from somebody is not a comfortable thing to do. As I say, when I did it, I didn't say you can't come anymore. I said this has to change and this has to change, otherwise you can't come. And then they said, I don't want to come if everyone's watching me, checking to see if this is, everyone's watching me to see when I slip up. And I say, well, that's up to you. And then that person stopped coming. So it was kind of, I didn't bar them, but I effectively barred them. But you know what I mean? It was a mutual decision. He didn't want to be monitored, and I was saying, well, you're going to have to be monitored.
But the point is, right, I think we all live in the tyranny of the present moment. We have this notion that our state that we feel at the moment is the one that will persist for the rest of time. I think this is going to get heavy now, but I think this is why some people kill themselves, because they think there is no difference. This is not going to change. I feel in pain, and that's never going to change, and so I just want the pain to stop. And actually, you were talking about on your show Avenue Q, and this notion that good times and bad times are transient. They are things that will come and then they will evaporate. And this guy saying, I don't want to be monitored. Well, if he kind of changes his tune a bit, within 2 weeks, no fucker's looking at him. No fucker is worrying about it. People can be redeemed, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. As I say, it's a tough one. And if anyone out there has got the answer, then let Ben know, because, well, there will be people who feel they've got the answer, and they'll either say, it's my time, I do with it what I want, I'm there to enjoy myself, I'm not there to mollycoddle other people, and then other people will say, you must be as inclusive as you can. And as I say, the reality is somewhere in the middle there, and
both answers seem plausible to me, right?
Yeah, and both answers are correct ultimately, even within the same human being having them. That's the problem.
Absolutely. So let's move on to banter about people who don't have showers. So, what do you think are the best and worst habits of gamers?
I think it's difficult to. I think I can tell you the best and worst habits of me.
Then let's start at that place. Yes.
Okay. I think my own personal worst trait, and this is through the lens of me being able to identify it. So people I'm playing with may tell you something completely different, and say, yes, well, he does do that, but this is even worse. So this is only stuff that I'm aware of. Is complaining. I complain a lot, Ben. I don't know.
I've witnessed it. In fact, I played Lorenzo Il Magnifico with you.
Oh, was I complaining all the way through?
Especially about the turn order thing every round, as I remember.
Yeah, I complain a lot. I complain. I don't mind losing, which will surprise some people who play with me, because I complain a lot about losing. I don't know. It feels like there should be some. I feel, and as everybody will feel for their own self, I feel my opinion is the correct one. Right. And I feel that I've got a very good natural instinct of how a rhythm of a game should take place.
Right.
I suppose the intuitiveness of a game.
Right.
And if I intuit a game in one direction and it decides to go another way, I am outraged. Absolutely outraged.
I understand that completely.
And I will complain. And the other thing I will do all the time is say, oh, I don't think I'm going to win this game. And it, just constantly say it. And I catch myself doing it. And I don't know why, because I don't really care if I lose. Actually, I don't want to lose. I don't mind if I come second or third. But I'll just say, I'm not going to. I think it's voicing my thought processes through. As much as anything, but yeah,
whilst completely bringing the mood of the room down.
While completely bringing the mood of the room down. That's it. That's it. To the point where I came second in the game of Dominant Species, not because of any skill, but because no one dared do anything unpleasant to me.
I have been in that place. I won my first ever game of Terraforming Mars because someone played one of those Take That cards on me, and I flipped my player board and went, "You fucking cunt!" And so no one did anything to me for the rest of the time. And I won and subsequently gloated. you see, mine is sort of similar to yours, except it's subtly different in that I am very much a victim of the current emotion.
Right.
And, you know, again, it's that tyranny of the present moment thing. If something is going bad for me, I vocalize that in the same way if something is going good for me. I vocalize it, and I have a forceful personality, and I can dominate a table with my positivity or my negativity at times. And if I take real objection to a game, and this happened sort of 6 months ago with Gugong. This is a game I'm very open to replaying games I don't like, but literally from the second turn, not my second turn, the second turn of the game, I was fucking livid with the game. Absolutely livid. I felt it incentivized the most boring decisions. It incentivized being a pernickety little twat. And the thing is, some Eurogames do this. And I just sat there and went, this is crap. And the problem is, I did it for the 2.5 hours that it took to play the game. And afterwards, I sent messages to people saying, man, I am so sorry. That was so childish. But at the time, I was completely tyrannized by my current emotion. And I had to say to people, don't you understand why this is awful? You know, and it can be really negative at times, I think, with me.
Yeah, well, that sounds very much like the same kind of thing. We should never play any more games together, Ben, otherwise we will cause the room to explode.
Or just agree to play things that are good. All right, so what do you think is the sort of best quality about gamers, if we can be reductive and general in that way?
See, I struggle with this. I really do. I think the best quality about gamers is the ability and the readiness to enter the as you call it, the magic circle.
Right.
To all agree that the goal of the game is important, that the spirit of the game is important, that we're not out to try and cheat. Very few board gamers cheat, I think.
Right. I mean, I do, but
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Fuck those guys.
And I do if I think the rules are wrong. If I think it should have been designed a different way, then God damn it, I'm taking 5 more resources. So I would say entering the spirit of the game. It's very, very seldom you'll find people not acting within the spirit of the game. Whereas in reality, it could be very easy to do that. And generally, playing by the rules is interpreted well. So if rules are a bit ambiguous, then there's generally, it could just be the people I play with, a kind of general, well, that feels about right. Let's just play like that. And
absolutely. There is a buy-in, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm less cynical than you, I guess. And I was never a person who looked for community. I feel that the falling back onto an identity, a single facet of who you are, is incredibly destructive. I think it's incredibly divisive, and I think we are all suffering because people want to carve out their own particular slice of the world that is for them. And I've always felt that. And so I never looked for community. And board gaming was the first community that I sort of actively took a part in being involved with.
Right, yeah.
And what I found is that actually, yes, there are assholes, because everywhere you go, there are assholes. But I've met so
Especially
many...
everywhere you go.
Well, absolutely.
Everywhere you go, there's at least one arsehole.
Literally one in the room.
Yeah.
But my God, I've met so many great people. And what I find about gaming, which constantly enriches me, and this often happens when I go to a con, generally people won't turn you away from their table. You've in your forum, which is a lot more popular than mine, and so I'm incredibly resentful about it. You've had someone talk about their perception of people who create media being cliquey. And wanting to hang around with, people in the cool group. And I don't see that. I actually see gaming as open. If there is a space at the table, I've never been turned away. Yeah. Do you mind if I play this? And no one has ever gone, no, we don't want you to play it. Every time goes, yeah, sit down. I don't know the game. That's fine. And I think that's incredibly rewarding and enriching, right?
Mm-hmm. I think you're right, actually, and I think there is a very solid sense of community, which is part of the problem. Part of the problem is because it is such a welcoming community that you assume everyone's the same as yourself,
right?
Often, and I think that brings up tension within gaming. Gamers, one bad habit of gamers as a general is the outrage when somebody doesn't like one of your games, your favourite games, if you like. So,
but if someone doesn't like your band, right, or someone doesn't like your favourite director, or someone doesn't like your football team, I mean, you get the same reaction every time. You know?
I suppose so. We're all human beings. Yeah, maybe you're right, but that's still a bad habit of football supporters and football's different, isn't it? Because football's very much, that's the purpose of it, is to have rivalries.
Be part of. Yeah, exactly.
Whereas bands and films and whatever, it's not. But I find that sometimes people can feel very personally offended. People invest their personality in games. I am a train gamer. I love trains. I only like war games. I like deep, heavy games. And when somebody doesn't like those things, I think there is a tendency, particularly online, much less so in person, which is often the case, isn't it? It's all magnified.
Of course,
online.
Most people are sound in person, and they can be total bellends online.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's this tendency to take the dislike of a game as dislike of one aspect of your personality. I think.
Well, I think there's a positive interpretation of that, which is actually what people want. Is they say, this thing is great and I want you to love it too. And when they don't, there is a lack of understanding. But it's like, don't you realise though, this is fucking great.
Are you sure you're playing it right? I think you need about 4 or 5 more tries of it before you can make your mind up.
I played my first 18XX a while ago, and while I enjoyed it, I didn't think it was bad. I didn't have a bad experience, and the people I was playing with were very gracious of my idiocy. I did sort of think, Christ, I didn't become an accountant for a reason. You know what I mean? And we had to have calculators at the table. And, I would play them again, but at the same time, I don't see myself falling in love with the story they're telling about 1800s railway barony. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, but to be fair to 18XX people, I think they are more likely to understand that people don't like their games, as opposed to somebody who loves Blood Rage or somebody who loves Scythe. And that the more mainstream stuff, that there's still difference of opinion. I mean, the Stegmaier factions. You got people waving torches and pitchforks, hating Stonemaier games, and people loving them, and this kind of I don't know, allegiances on one side or the other both seem a bit weird to me.
And it's such odd allegiances, right? That you'd be, just. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. And if someone doesn't agree with it, Well, I was having a chat with Davey Moser.
Oh, no.
D-Moser 22.
D-Moser 22. I thought I mistook him for D-Moser 21.
No, D-Moser 21's an asshole.
He is.
And he said to me, glad I could jump in quick and beat the other 50 people who are about to chime in with a suggestion. I consider that
highly optimistic.
He's giving me a bit of side there.
Yeah.
He's telling me how unpopular I am. But he said, so first one, shampoo, soap and deodorant, please. Now, this is a classic gripe about gamers. Do you think it pertains, though? Because I don't see it much.
I'm not the best with sense of smell and stuff like that.
Right.
Anyway, people say cons stink, and I very rare. It must be me who's stinking because I very rarely notice it.
Me neither.
Occasionally, there's a slight hum where you get a large group of people collected. But I think this stereotype isn't accurate, particularly.
Was it ever? I think you've been into games a little bit longer than me, and
not publicly though. But yeah,
I've never experienced it.
I once sat at a table when a large Magic tournament was going on,
right?
And there was a bit of a feety smell then. But it's just slight. I don't know. I've never really been that bothered about stuff like this. We all stink in our own way. No, it's not something. Occasionally, you get they call them the cat piss man, don't they? That's the it's a comic book term, that the person who hangs around the comic book shop stinking, the cat piss man. But I don't think there's that many cat piss men in gaming. Certainly not in the circles I've gamed with, anyway. No,
and I think I think people are saying it now. Firstly, because it's a meme.
Yeah.
And secondly, as a precautionary measure, right?
Yes, yeah.
Have a shower, love. You'll feel better, and we'll all feel better. And I think, I don't experience it either.
No, I'm thinking back to Essen. I don't remember it at Essen. I don't remember it at the UK Games Expo. I don't remember it anywhere really. Occasionally, someone's a bit whiffy. But it's interesting because to an extent that needs to be tolerated as well. You know, it's all interesting. It's all interesting.
So, I was having a chat. He was on the previous show, Steve Cyrek, and I don't know if you've noticed the slight uptick in bizarre religious cults that are popping up around the compounds. But I'm very concerned by it. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you planning to start your own yourself?
I've started one myself. Yeah, I've started one already.
Oh, really? Explain it.
Well, it's all based around Edwardian music hall.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called "Who Wears Me Trousers."
Yeah.
That's it, and generally consists of all gathering together and making bawdy double entendres with vaguely sexist themes.
Nice. So someone could say, "Oh, that's a big one."
Exactly. That's more sausage, vicar. That kind of stuff.
I went round to John's the other day. He had some new cast iron on his door, and I said, "Whoa, that's a big knockers."
Exactly. So that's my cult. It's proving very popular amongst people of a certain age.
Well, I hope that you and the Meeple Pete frozen head cult don't end up having a religious war in the compounds.
Well, we'll see.
But he said, and it connects to someone I think you know quite well, Mischip, he goes by.
Oh, what? Yeah.
And they're sort of connected. Steve says, I like to see new players doing well, even if they don't win. It's demoralising to watch experienced players slowly dismantle the dignity of unsuspecting noobs. Now, Shut Up and Sit Down released a video where they said, if you win the game you teach, you've already lost, which I think is a fucking load of pandering bollocks as far as I'm concerned. But, I mean, do you think there's something in that? That sort of hyper gamer who just sits there and goes, "Oh, you don't have any idea what you're doing," and completely destroys the enthusiasm that someone may have when they sit down to a game.
I think those people probably exist. I think they're probably in the minority, and I agree that a very good trait of a lot of gamers and a good habit of a lot of gamers is the willingness to, oh, well, we're not playing with this expansion because there's some new people here.
Right.
Is your classic. And yes, they probably may not go easy on them, but if they see them making a mistake, you go, well, you might want to think about, you know, and yeah, everyone I think I can think of very few bad habits in the people I game with, other than me, because I've cultivated it that way. I don't know, but yeah, no, I think that's a valid one. I think, and it comes back to your always a seat welcome at the table and things like that.
And it should be, right?
Oh gosh, yeah,
it absolutely should be. And Mike, I believe he has the appellation Pillock.
Yeah, Mike the Pillock. Yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't call him that because, you know, I'm far more respectful of him than you are. But he says, and he has a link, this sort of hyper gamer, table hoverers who want to talk, especially when it's a tricky game and especially when it's your turn, which seems rather antisocial. But there is the particular breed of person who will sit at your table when you're playing a game and try and play the game for you, even when they're not playing. They deserve to die, right?
Yes, and that particular breed is one of the major faults with the people I was talking about previously. Yeah, although I don't know if Mike's talking about that. I wonder if Mike's talking about people who are coming. I think a lot of this particular bad trait very much depends on the reading of the room, really. As Max said, if you're playing a heavy game, then it's not that useful to have people come over and chat. But if you're in a group which is having a lot of fun, a lot of laughter and things like that, then it can be okay, I think. I know who Mike's talking about now. I know exactly. and you've met him as well. So that's fine. And this gentleman will make a 5-hour game into a 10-hour game, or a 2-hour game into a 4-hour game, because he will be constantly chatting to people off the side on other tables and things like that.
Is he a punk man?
He is. He may well be a punk. Yes.
Well, I don't want to be very cliquey for the listeners, but this guy has the worst flatulence I've ever smelt.
I went to McDonald's with him this afternoon, actually, in a bizarre state of who. And that can be infuriating. And I have said, I am not playing a game with you because you'll not. It's worse than AP because it's not even related to the game you're playing.
On the subject of this person, actually, one gaming trait it's actually only specific to this person, but is quite negative, is when during the game he gives you a vastly detailed rundown of his wife's reproductive health. That is an unpleasant experience, especially if you've only literally met them that day.
Yeah. He's a character, but I suppose it depends what you want to get, and the issue is it's about what everybody around the table wants to get out of gaming. Because he will argue, "I'm here to socialise,"
right?
And I will argue, "So am I, but not with you."
Because you're a bellend.
No, he's a very nice man. But that's what he will say. He will say,
"You're 50. Why have you got a Mohican for?
Exactly.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Grow up. You're still wearing shorts at 50. Get a grip." No, I think it depends on the group, and it depends if you can get some kind of, if all your group are there to have the same experience, whether it be a social experience. One of the best games I ever played was Ticket to Ride, because none of us were really playing Ticket to Ride.
Right.
And then another of my best experiences was Nippon, because everyone was playing Nippon.
Right.
So it just depends on what you're there for. And if there's a disparity there, if half the people are there for one reason, half the people are there for the other, it's about finding that compromise.
And this is fundamentally the beauty of gaming, right? It's these emergent things. When just something that is perfect emerges from the activity you're doing, and you walk away thinking, Christ, I really spent my time well there.
Yes.
That's what you want. That's what you get into it for, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. And there could be a multitude of reasons why that time was valuable there.
Right.
And hopefully everybody leaves the table thinking that and it's when there's a significant difference between the people's attitude walking away. That's when the problems happen. Because I mean, you could even argue. Now, I'm with you 100% on AP being the ultimate selfish act, but you could even argue that if everyone there is happy with the AP and is there to make absolutely optimized moves, then that's also fine.
Absolutely. I mean, the problem is it's never going to be on my list because I am absolutely intolerant of it. It drives me up the fucking wall. Because the problem is, so today is a great example. It's slightly related. People would be surprised by this, I think, about me, but I'm punctual to a fault. Because when you train as an actor, basically the deal is you turn up on time or you get fired. So you learn to be very punctual. So I'm always punctual in kind of every aspect of my life, right? And my gaming group are fucking awful. And I turned up at the appointed time and the person wasn't in their flat because they said, oh no, this other person's going to be late, so I'm late. So I'm fart-arsing around. It's bloody cold outside, by the way. You know, and I think AP has this character to it of... I'm not going to meet you on time because, frankly, I don't respect your time. Mm-hmm. I am going to take forever to do my turn because, frankly, I don't respect your time.
I don't know if I've told you this story before, but it's the worst case of I don't know if you even call it AP, but the worst case of disrespect for my time that I've ever encountered, and made me and another person I was playing with absolutely livid.
Right.
Was playing a game. I think it's called. Is it Yamatai? It's like Istanbul but more complex.
Right. Yamatai is like the spiritual successor to Five Tribes, isn't it?
You possibly. Anyway, a game. Whatever the game. I'd never played it before. This person had played it 4 or 5 times before. Knew the game very well. And myself, my friend, and this person and another person, were playing it, and they were winning, significantly winning. In fact. It's one of these games where you count the score up as you go along, and they'd already lapped us.
Right.
So they're going to win. And the final turn came, and this person literally took 20 minutes to take their final turn, despite the fact there was no way anyone could catch them.
Right.
They had won. We couldn't take our turn until they'd taken their turn. They took 20 minutes to do their turn. It was literally 20 minutes because they wanted to make sure they could squeeze every last victory point out of this game. Now, we were too polite and respected them too much to say, right, well, we're going to go then. Because you don't do that, do you? You don't leave a game halfway through because that's disrespectful to other people. If you're going to lose and you go, right, I'm not going to lose, there's no point playing, I'm going to go off. That's not done. So we're sat there.
The thing is, though, it's not like, oh, I'm going to lose, though. At this point, it's, you know, I'm not sure if you realise the nature of life in that it's finite. And this 20 minutes that you're stealing off me are incredibly valuable, especially when I'm 85 in the fucking hospital on a respirator. I don't want to remember looking at your fucking 20-minute move, right?
Yeah. And it was worse than that because the person I was with, and I don't want to give too much information away here, the person I was with was due to play a game of Cosmic Encounter with Tom Vassell that he missed because this game took too long.
Right.
So they missed a... Now, whether you want to play Cosmic Encounter with Tom Vassell or not, but you can appreciate...
That some people may.
That some people may, and it'd be quite an exciting thing. And you know, everyone was aware at the table that we wanted to finish this game in time for this person to get off. So... It was dreadful, and we had our revenge by as soon as we finished. The person went into their bag to get their camera so they could take a picture of the board and the score. We tied it all away before they could even get the camera out.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Bloody right.
Yes, but that was dreadful. That was dreadful, and it was. I'm still angry about it to this day.
I find it utterly unacceptable, and I understand the arguments for AP. Some people are really insecure and they don't want to look stupid, and that sort of grinds their brain to a halt. But at some point, you kind of have to say we're all fucking adults here, and Get a grip of yourself. Realise that you're stealing people's lives from them. Realise that. Anyway, on that happy note, I'm going to go away now because, even though it's March here in the compound, I'm getting a little bit of a blauer Vorhaut, as they say in Germany. And I'm not going to translate that.
They don't say that in Huddersfield, I'll tell you that
They
much.
certainly don't. I'm just going to allow the Germans who listen to this to understand it. If they want to pop up a translation on the guild, that's perfectly fine. I literally do anything to have anyone interact with me.
Well, I'm here, Ben. I'm here.
I'm about to weep. So, what are your plans for the next week here in this post-apocalyptic heaven?
In this post-apocalyptic heaven, my plans, I'm going to continue with my cult, obviously.
Yeah. Look at, that's a lovely pair.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I can't. This is the problem with this is why I never make an improviser, Ben. I go down
can't
the road
improvise.
and I'm just yeah. That is exactly correct. I'm going to do something zombie-ish, seeing as though that's the corner you've painted me into. I'm going to walk around and eat some brains.
Well, I hope you don't eat mine, because there's not a lot of food there. And anyway, on the subject of deodorant, you're rotting, so put some on.
It would mask nothing. It would mask nothing. I revel in it. I revel in it.
Will a full-on religious war start between the Meeple Pete heads and Dan's new Edwardian religion? Will Ben learn one day, finally, that swearing is neither big nor clever? Will someone tell me why I can't buy any f***ing bog roll from the local supermarket? Why is the premise of this show so thin? Go to the Board Game Geek Guild 3209 to find out.